The Friends of Cambridge Central Library, which is a new group, welcomes the chance to respond to the consultations on the future of the Central Library and of the Cambridgeshire collection, and is preparing a full response to the latter. In fact, we have prepared it, and I have some copies here, in order to inform the Council in its decision-making. However, we would like to know, A, why the public consultation response form on the Cambridgeshire collection deals only with proposed cuts in opening hours and makes no mention of the proposed major cuts to the collection's staffing. B, why, proportionate to its size, the proposed cuts to the collection are considerably heavier than those proposed for the library, and so much heavier than those proposed for the Council as a whole. And C, whether in order to allow the Friends of Cambridge Central Library and other interested parties, and there are plenty of them, to prepare fully worked out and constructive proposals for the future development of the Cambridgeshire collection, the Council would be prepared to extend the deadline for any final decision about the collection's long-term future, so that such proposals can be taken into account.
Thank you. That's a bit good. Roads, no libraries.
I'll keep standing, I think it's much easier. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Dr. Lang. As I say, a more comprehensive response will come to you later, but taking it in order at the moment, why does it not include staffing? We're looking at opening hours and the effects of that. That's what the consultation is about. As far as we're concerned, we're looking to still keep one part-time professional. We're looking to have 2 part-time assistants, and those 3 supported by other staff within the library. So the consultation isn't specifically about staffing levels, it's more about the effect of opening hours, etc. Going forward. Proportionality of the cut. Actually, it is proportional because of everything that's gone on before in the Council. This is no more disproportional than anything else. We have had to make service cuts and save money in all areas, and if you like, it's the turn of this particular one that we looked at. Just because it's a little bit bigger maybe now, it means it hasn't had anything before, but it's always been in the pipeline, I guess. So proportionality, I think you'll find that it's the same as all the others. And whether to allow the Friends of Cambridge Central Library time, we're hoping that the changes are hoping to secure the future going forward. And therefore, anything that can be added to that process by the Friends of Cambridge Central Library is more than welcome. But we are where we are as far as what you're asking for. Let's have a look to extend the deadline. There is a deadline. It's in the business plan at the moment, but that doesn't mean things can't change after the deadline. Obviously, we will work with whoever, including yourselves, to actually make things as good as possible after.
Thank you. Dr. Lang, you have a minute if you have a supplementary.
It's about proportionality. In terms of percentages, the proposed cuts for the library as a whole, and admittedly it's not entirely black and white, but amount to about 10%. The cuts the Cambridgeshire collection has had over the past 1.5 years, since 2014, if the proposed cuts go through, amount in staffing to 60%. The numbers of staff involved in the Cambridgeshire collection are much smaller than the library as a whole. So essentially, and you'll find it all laid out in our response, the Cambridgeshire collection cannot operate on the basis of the proposed cuts, and that's why we raise the question.
No, I understand. I'll give you a written response, but the way I'm looking at it is that the Cambridgeshire collection is part of the library service overall, and also it will be supplemented going forward with some of the general staff from the library. So there's give and take on both sides, but I'll get a proper response to you.
Thank you. Dr. Lang, thank you very much for your questions. We now move to Mr. Stephen Swift. Mr. Swift, if you'd like to come forward and ask your question, please.
Okay. The County Library Service is set to be heavily impacted by the plan before Council. We'd probably all agree on the benefits of libraries. The issue at hand is how to balance the books. Given the major cuts already applied to this service, the proposed scale of cuts seems disproportionate. So are these cuts being intelligently targeted? Council spending is often just that, spending. But the library service is one area where the Council is investing, be that in people, competitiveness in local businesses, or even helping launch new businesses. So while councils are often viewed primarily as support services, they should also empower the electorate and the commercial sector to thrive. But hack away at this facilitating infrastructure and the commercial health of the wider county will surely suffer. Currently, much of the benefit is intangible or unrecorded on traditional accounts, but the council does reap these hidden dividends and should be looking to make them grow. And this kind of links to the essence of my point, which is actually one of opportunity for the council itself. The council aspires to become a more commercial beast. It has its transformational agenda. And the library and Cambridgeshire collection offers enormous potential in this regard. The council's own library income strategy group, formed late last year, identified scores of opportunities to offset the proposed cuts with new income streams, a chance to channel these dividends more directly to its own accounts. Even as we sit here, some of these ideas are in the early stages of implementation, some sadly held up in other council departments, and more queuing up behind. So we're faced with a situation where, at the very moment that green shoots of a more commercial approach are starting to show what could be achieved, the business plan threatens to stifle the opportunity by swinging cuts, staff losses hampering future efforts to raise revenue. Time is needed, and my question is actually a very positive one, I think. First, can we redirect or reconsider the scale of cutbacks to allow for this opportunity, or failing that, to allow us to see whether these germinating schemes can be a model for transforming the council's fortunes? Can we at the very least have a meaningful stay of execution for these library cuts?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the questioner again. Obviously, it's related to the previous question. I'll make sure that answers are made public so you can vote that. You're specifically asking if there can be a reconsideration of what you consider to be the all-directed cuts. If I had my way, we wouldn't have any cuts at all. But please bear in mind that these have been considered much more than once, many times by members with consultations, etc. But we are where we are. Please note that the library service is an integral part of our transformation agenda. My committee, the HNCI committee, have already said we're not going to cut mobile libraries because we want to see where they fit in to the overall picture. And you know, the library service is Cambridgeshire. It's not just Cambridge, and so we really have to bear that in mind when we as members are trying to decide something for Cambridgeshire. And Cambridge obviously is a big part of that, but not all of it. And we're also looking to see what we can do with libraries to introduce other services, maybe front doors and hubs for other things at the moment. That's all part of the transformation. So going forward, I'm hoping that we can make more of them rather than just, as you say, cutting them.
Thank you. Mr. Swift, do you have a substitute?
I'll just clarify. I was speaking in terms of Cambridgeshire. It doesn't really address. I mean, I'm not sure whether you're saying that there can be an extension. It's a question of giving a bit of breathing space. If there is an opportunity here, but we actually cut off the opportunity to find out whether it will work because we're feeling we have this deadline. If there's flexibility in moving that or shuffling the timing of cuts or something like that, that is really what. I mean, I think the cuts are ill-directed, as I've said. And I have suspicions about quite why they were apportioned in the way they were. But I'm still not sure from your response whether you're saying there can be a change in the implementation date of these cuts.
Chairman, I think what I'm saying is we are where we are. I don't suspect the cuts to change anything that we want to introduce going forward. So, you know, that's why we need to work with everyone to find out where we go from here. So, you know, can there be an extension to the deadline, etc.? Well, no, but I don't think that should impede on what we need to do in the future as far as the transformation is concerned.
Thank you. Mr. Swift, thank you very much for your questions. If I could ask you perhaps to switch off the microphones, that would be very helpful. Thank you again.